Can everybody hear me? Yeah, 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 yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning in Amsterdam. 10:15, the GreenTech 2023 has been opened, and we welcome you here on the vertical farming stage. Also take our time a little bit for our guest, Russian-speaking guest, where there is a translator available. I think where she is, but there she is. Are you taking a microphone as well to translate, or is it going quite all right? Aha, okay. You hear everything through a headset. Is everybody can hear her very clearly? Super. Okay, what we are going to do today, we start off with vertical farming versus profitability. Of course, a big question these days. And for now, what I'd like you to do, if you have the possibility, I go out of the way, you can answer some questions virtually by putting your camera on the QR code. Press 46265300, the code, and some questions will appear later on when I've introduced our guest for this nice seminar. On stage will be Mr. Wim Roosens, CCO from SMARTKAS and co-founder. Of course, an agtech company where a lot of people have heard about. Vertical farming, is it good, is it bad, is it profitable, yes or no? Many topics will be there. And he has some panelists which I like to invite also to the stage. From North America, Mr. Tom Stenzel, please come on board from CEA Alliance from North America. Give him a warm applause. Thank you. And what can we do about money these days? Not so much without, but we have somebody who knows all about it and is very interested. And Rabobank is one of those banks who is investing heavily and taking time and interest in the whole agriculture and horticultural sector. That's why I'm very interested in welcome Mr. Lambert van Horen from Rabobank, Netherlands. And then the CCO from SmartKAS, COO, yeah, COO, yeah. It's a lot of O's and a lot of and one C. Mr. Wim Roosens.
Thank you, John.
And I give you the floor, Wim, and then good luck and enjoy.
Yeah, thank you. Can everybody hear me well? Yeah, okay. No, David not? Okay, that's good. So just a quick correction, I'm not a co-founder of SmartKAS. It's important. I'll give that to David. Can we get the presentation on here as well? Because it's not now. Okay. First of all, thanks a lot for coming here in this the early presentation. I didn't expect this many people, so I'm a bit more nervous than I was, but it's okay. So vertical farming versus profitability. I think after the events this week, a very interesting question. Over the past years, even more. So I've been reading on this week on LinkedIn, and if you have to believe people, it's doom's week for vertical farming with even like implosion of vertical farming. I'm not that negative about the sector. I think we just need to put a few things in a different way. So who am I? I'm, as you can see, Wim Roosens. I'm the CEO of SmartKAS, and I've been with the company for 3 years. My background is in finance and in asset management, so you probably think, what's a finance guy doing on a vertical farming stage? I'd like to tell you a little bit about how I got here. So about 5 years ago, I was in finance. I was doing my real estate projects and some other finance, and my first daughter was born. It will sound a bit cliche. Everybody says, okay, when my first kid is born, I want to do something different. Do I want to keep doing this, or do I want to make an impact, make a bit of a change? I decided to the latter, so to make a change, to look something where I can actually, with my skill sets and my network, do something good for the world and make an impact, and even maybe, hopefully, leave a legacy for my kids. So I started looking for opportunities, talked to different people, and at some point, one guy told me, you have to talk to David at SmartKAS. So I got in the car, drove to Amsterdam, talked to David. That was about, I think, 4 years ago, and yeah, we haven't stopped talking since. So it's, I think, maybe to the big annoyance of both our wives, we talk more to them than we talk to them. So, but it's positive. When I started as an outsider into the space. So I started talking to David. We had discussions. Like I said, what do you want to do? Because he had a big convincing mission: solve world hunger, make access to food and water a basic human right. I think all big, bold statements. How do you want to do this? Do you want to sell technology? Do you want to build technology, or do you want to feed the planet? And how are you going to do it? What's the most profitable way to market? For us, it was build projects. So we looked at it. I asked him like, okay, what do you want to grow? Do you know what you want to grow? He said, yeah, I know what I want to grow. Where do you want to grow it? Yeah, we can start here in Amsterdam. What technology? Yeah, I've done a lot of research. There is good technology. Can we use that? Then we can go to, so yeah, next to that, I will show you a little bit. After all these questions, we decided to do the project, and we managed to do the project in Amsterdam. And I'm going to share a short video of the presentation of the farm now. So that's the facility. We have like about 50 minutes here, close to Schiphol. I always love the dramatic ending of it. It's so what we discussed before is actually something that I think is a really important question, and that I also want to bring into the conversation here. Like, either do we want to sell expensive toys, as we like to call it within SMARTKAS, or do you want to feed the planet? It's also a question that I asked David, and we decided to go, we're going to feed the planet. So because we believe the technology that is there is there is good technology. How can we make the quickest road to profitability? In our case, we decided to build a project, to find a location with good energy, put the variables in order, and then actually start building. So how we see vertical farming, and I think what's important is that you kind of separate the technology from the business. And that's where I also read an article yesterday or the day before from Agritecture, which made sense to me on where has all the money gone. It was a very dramatic but good title. On the where they also made the separation of like farm operators, technology providers, and then a hybrid, where I believe the first two go really hand in hand and can have an additional value. I think the hybrid role is something that I think will diminish in the future, because which also brings me to my next point is starve your distractions, feed your focus. So we went for some dramatic titles. It's always a bit more marketable. So on that, if you, let's say you get 100 million in the bank, what are you going to do? Are you going to start developing technology, more and more technology, different technologies, or are you going to build farms with technology that exists? I think to make it profitable, yeah, you need to make a choice. Like, are we going to sell the technology? Are we going to use? What are you going to choose? If I have 10 million, I can put it into a farm and make it profitable, or I can build 10 years and develop technology. But yeah, so those choices, I think in everything you do in business, focus is really important. If you're an operator, try to be the best, have the best execution on the operating side. If you're a technology, focus on the best technology, and then sell that technology to the farm operators. So I think these combinations, these partnerships, I think that's something that we will need to focus on the future, and it's something that we focus highly value within SMARTKAS as well. Going to the next one, where success is best when it's shared. 20 years ago, I think, when I started in business, someone told me, like, if you can't share, you cannot multiply, which I've always tried to implement in anything I do, and still do it in SMARTKAS, because there are, if you can share, and it's a shared purpose and shared values with people with matching skill set, I think you can go a long way. And I think if people, and this maybe sounds like a bit cliche, if people open up to partnerships and then they want to work together, I think that's really where we can make a difference, and you can even make it more profitable. This is starting in the first place between farm operators and technology providers. I think that's the first match. But if you take it to a broader level, I think you can have multiple stakeholders like governments, like investors, like even logistics centers where they have massive amounts of energy that's actually not used on solar. How can you use that energy to make food and actually work together on a shared purpose? So that's something that within SMARTKAS we're also looking at and want to develop. Because then if you have a shared purpose, you work towards a similar goal. It's a bit different than I want to sell tech, I want to do this, I want to do that. But if you bring it all together, then you can make a real impact. And I think that's something that we all want to do. So in short, a little bit on SMARTKAS, where we have a design, build, own, and operate business model. So we work together, we design where do we want to, like the 4 questions that I asked David in the beginning, where will we grow, what will we grow, and that, and who will buy it. Then we have external partners who will build it. We either use external financing, we financed everything with debt, because for us it's also like a promise to profitability, because you need to, and it's not a valuation model. And then the operating side is something that we also do ourselves. So that's in short a bit on the model. Conclusion, I think it's what I touched on before. I think we're entering like the decade of partnership. Like if we really want to make the 2030 goals, which now is already like 2040, 2050, partnership is going to be the main thing for me. So that's really something that I think with all the partners here, and even like a Provada next door, or is it there? I don't know. It's if we create these partnerships and these shared goals, then I think we can actually make a real difference in over the coming years. I want to move to the panel talk, so I'm going to introduce my guests again, like Lambert van Horen, Senior Specialist Fresh Produce at Rabobank, who I think has a very good opinion about vertical farming also from the bank's point of view. And Tom Stenzel, Executive Director from the CA Alliance, who knows the US market also inside out, and maybe can share a bit more about that as well, and how you guys see it. So yeah, thanks a lot. So my first question actually, and something that I want to touch on is like, we talk a lot about like ag-tech, vertical farming, farming operators, technology providers. Like, what is in your idea like the definition of a vertical farming company? Is that like an operator or a technology? Like Tom, what do you think?
Sure, Wim. Thank you. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here with you in Amsterdam at GreenTech today. Just a little bit of background about the CEA Alliance in North America. Yep. So as you said, shared success is something that we believe very strongly in. It's the first time this sector has come together in a trade association to represent all the vertical farming and also glass greenhouses, very high-tech indoor farming. There's so many different models to answer this question of what is a vertical farm. We have very small scale vertical farms. You've seen the in-store facilities. We have small footprints that are being designed and built near distribution centers for retail customers or for food service customers. And then you also see the very large, the Plenty, Aero Farms, Bowery, which are kind of the standalone huge farms, if you will, in the vertical space. There's probably room for all of those, but we can talk more about profitability throughout that.
Yeah, I think the how I personally see it is that to get the profitability, you probably need to look at large-scale facilities and really have like a factory model where you can create volumes of produce and really have these partnerships also with retailers. Or you go into a very niche single market, but I don't know, what do you think, Lambert?
Well, almost 70 years ago, we already had stacked systems in mushroom growing. 50 years ago, we had stacked system in tulip forcing. So what's new about vertical? So I usually call it daylight-free cultivation, because in my opinion, that's really the difference between, let's say, a greenhouse and the new developments in what we call usually is vertical farming. It is using not the direct sunlight, but using indirect sunlight. First, having a solar panel to, let's say, collect the energy, and later on, somewhere during the night, maybe in winter, etc., using that same energy. So I prefer, to say it is a daylight-free cultivation, and maybe to add on, I would say when you look at history of greenhouse horticulture, we started with maybe some plastics. Then we started to irrigate. Then we started with fertilizers. We started with the carbon dioxide addition in the greenhouse. We used assimilation light, or we used steering lights for fructification. And now we are going to the next level. So it is not a contradiction between a greenhouse and a vertical farm. It is a kind of add-on.
And do you believe that, or do you think that the whole agtech or the vertical farming technology has been too much Silicon Valley model versus like a focus on a profitability model?
Well, at least they have to compete with family farms all over the world, because most of the greenhouses, and that's my benchmark, are in Canada, in the Leamington area, here in the Netherlands, in Belgium, in Bretagne, in France, etc., or in Almeria in Spain. Those are all family farms, and they are used to more volatility and let's say disruptions of for instance, of the energy price. Maybe they have another balance sheet than, let's say, the Silicon Valley model.
Yeah.
So from a financing perspective, that's your benchmark, that's your competition.
Yeah.
I should defer to the banker here, but I wouldn't characterize it as right or wrong.
No.
You know, I think there was an investment, there was a rush to invest that came along with leafy greens. The traditional Leamington greenhouses of tomatoes, cukes, peppers, very traditional and very successful, in fact. But when leafy greens began growing indoors, and there's investment capital in the greenhouses as well for leafy greens. I think there was a rush to be first, and that's always going to come in an investment capability. The transition that I believe we're in today is moving to a long-term profitability as opposed to the setup or startup phase.
Well, I think if you look at the greenhouse industry, you actually have a very much, the hybrid model is almost, to my existence, it's almost non-existent, right? You have like the operators really, and then you have the technology providers, the builders. And I think that's really also where you have the focus and you can go to the next level. What do you think the biggest mistakes that have been made, or mistakes, quote unquote, have been made over the past 17, 20 years? I don't know, maybe it's longer. Tom? If you can call them mistakes, I think it's a big word.
Yeah, mistake is a tough word. There's been a tremendous amount of investment in innovation that's not necessarily just designed to be a farm. You know, the research, the R&D that's come, some of that may prove to be very fruitful in the long term, but it doesn't necessarily go with the unit economics of raising produce. So I think, characterize it as a mistake or as an ancillary benefit, but I think people are now focused that if you can't make a profit, if you can't be a successful company in the marketplace, you're not going to have the resources to do the other things as well.
Yeah, I think that's, I had a discussion with one of the guys from Deloitte a couple months ago, and he said like, focus on just one operation, and then later on you can do the other stuff out of your habitat. And then really these things, it's I think that's more the trend that we go to. And from your point of view, Lambert?
Well, you said in your introduction, it's the decade of partnership, and partnership goes with co-creation. And a lot of equity companies are not focusing on co-creation, they are focusing on IP. And so they want to be the first in intellectual property, etc. And what I think made agriculture in general, or agtech here in the GreenTech, made successful is co-creation between the technology provider and, let's say, the grower. And with IP, a lot of money has been burned because everybody is reinventing more or less the same wheel. So that is, I think, something to have in mind when we develop the next few years.
Yeah, I also believe that the technology that we develop needs to be functional, and that then you move to the next level. When something works, you implement it, and then you go to the next one. And really, I feel this also with AI these days. AI is very hip and trending, but if it's functional, like ChatGPT, if it's functional, it's really good. But if you use it just to use it, then it's a waste of time, I think. But yeah. What would you advise to new vertical farmers or like agriculture companies, young agricultural companies that want to start in a business now, that are looking for financing or maybe for partnerships? Or how would you talk to them if you would be an advisor on the board, for example?
Maybe I'm a little bit rude about this, because it's not about the vertical farm. It starts with the market.
Yeah.
What's the market for your produce? Do they want, let's say, a very clean lettuce or leafy green or whatever, without using of pesticides, etc., in your market? That's the starting question, a marketing plan for your produce. And with that marketing plan, then you choose the right production facility. Sometimes that could be a vertical stacked farm, sometimes it's a greenhouse, sometimes it's maybe a medium tech plastic greenhouse, sometimes it's maybe even outdoor. So it starts always with the consumer, with the consumption, I would say.
So do I understand that from a profitability, you actually believe in technology agnostic? Basically that you look at like what's the best way for each geographical location to, okay, in Hungary, let's do a greenhouse with some geothermal heat, or like a vertical farm in New York or here in Amsterdam or somewhere else?
Yeah, but be aware of cultural differences between the geographies. So in Japan, people have another, let's say, perception of greenhouse coming from a vertical farm than in Germany. That's really a cultural difference. And the other way is, well, I'm sorry, Tom, to say, but we are old men sitting on the couch. So also look at different ages, because look really into millennials or Generation Z, because they have another perception of what is a good fresh produce than people from the baby boom generation.
I couldn't agree with Lambert more on the initial comment about the marketplace. So my personal background, I had worked about 30 years as CEO of the United Fresh Fruit and Vegetable Association in the United States, so representing all of fruit and vegetable production in the States. Marketplace is number one. It's the consumer. You have to start with the consumer. I'll go back to one of your earlier questions. What mistakes were made? Some of the companies came in as technology companies, and they didn't realize they were really food companies. And we can grow it. It's great. Well, who are you serving? How do you sell it? Relationship with retailers, all of those are key attributes.
I think what you just touched on, like we're not a tech company, we're a food company. I think that's in one of our presentations actually, because we don't want to tackle the ag tech market, or do you want to go into the food market? And I think John always tells it like very in a blunt way, like, well, you guys are growers, you grow produce, and then we have a discussion about it because we think we're something different. It's not sexy enough, right? But in the essence, that's what you do. So yeah, I think that's. I think there's a lot to do. So what's like from future point of view? How do you see like the CA Alliance developing, for example? And is that something? I think it's also in Europe.
Yes.
But how can we actually do more together to create partnerships?
Well, I think that's important, Wim, that as Lambert said, a number of the companies, the venture capital was about IP. And what we're starting to see is this sector coming together to cooperate more, learn from one another. I've seen that in other aspects of agriculture in my career. The growth of bagged salads at first, 30 years ago, people were very secretive about their processes, but they realized they had to come together in food safety standards, all of those areas. So I see the ability of the sector to begin sharing, to begin co-creation with many of these partners here at the trade fair. I think that's going to be the future. So the more we can work together as a sector, I think this will continue to grow.
Okay, thank you. And Lambert, how do you think that the banks can support in this in co-creation, or actually, because in the end, from a bank point of view, you guys meet a lot of different companies, and I know you guys also make introductions. Maybe you should talk to them. How do you think you can play a role in this?
Well, I usually make a difference between investing and banking, and that's really something else. Investing is someone who provides equity and takes risks in a new, let's say, in a new venture, in a new company. A banker wants to have a loan with low risk, and he wants a repayment. And that, so make that difference. Sometimes they ask me, well, will Rabobank finance vertical farms? I say, well, if there's a positive cash flow, because you need to repay the loan. You want a low interest rate, then you need a repayment. If you have an investment case, that's something different. So make that difference. And of course, there are some mezzanine, let's say, solutions in between. We have some small, let's say, soft loans for innovation, etc.
Yeah.
But my main point is make the difference between investing in a vertical farm or
Banking.
financing,
Yeah.
because we are on another part of the balance sheet.
Okay. No, thanks a lot, both of you, for your presence and participation. Highly valued. For the audience, I really want to make a quick reference to our other presentations that we have with SMARTKAS. John will be having a presentation and a panel talk on the technology stage at 11:30. And then tomorrow, David will talk at the vision stage at 12 o'clock. So if you're around, try to attend. And thanks a lot for attending this one. Really appreciate it, and enjoy the exhibition. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. Lambert, thank you very much. Tom, thanks very much. Wim, thanks very much. Ladies and gentlemen, enjoy the GreenTech. There's a lot to see. There's a lot after those years.